Hi and welcome to the 2024 Europe Triathlon Long Distance Championship at Challenge Almere-Amsterdam. My name is Richard Belderock, and in this video I'll be taking you through the most important points of the athlete briefing for our race this Saturday. In the agenda I'll take you through the most important topics, starting with welcomes and introductions, the competition jury, the schedule and the timetables for all the events, the check-in and the procedures regarding that, then the courses, the post-race procedures, the weather quality test results and the weather forecast. So starting off with the welcome and introductions, the team here in Almere is complemented by the Europe Triathlon team with the Vice President Martin Bredijk visiting the event. The technical delegate from Europe Triathlon is Pascal Godel from France. Svebor Heruk is the Europe Triathlon Assistant Technical Delegate. Sander Verheuvel is the head referee for Europe Triathlon, and Natasja Batenburg is the representative from the Dutch Triathlon Federation. And as said in the introduction, my name is Richard Belderock. I'm the local organizing committee director. In case you want to appeal to any penalties you have received during the event, you can reach out to the competition jury, and the competition jury consists of 3 people. Pascal Godel, as technical delegate, is the chair of that. Martin Bredijk from ETU representative is part of it, and Natasja Batenburg from the Dutch Triathlon Federation. For the schedule and timetables, for the familiarizations, on Thursday, September 12th, starting at 3:30, there's a swim familiarization. We ask you to be present all at that same time so we can move in one group, and it's better to mark everything and to keep everyone safe. The entire week it's already possible to check out the bike course. But do note that the bike course on race day will go on the car roads, which are not allowed to be driven on the regular days, so keep to the bike path next to the main course. Also, the run course is possible to be run the entire week. The course is already marked with red arrows, so you can follow the run course already the entire week. Moving into the Friday, the registration and check-in day. For the long distance athletes, registration is possible, starts at 11, it's possible until 8 in the evening. Make sure when you come to the registration desk to keep your ID and any federation license at hand. It's in the theater, in the central venue of the event. Also, around that same time, between 11 and 8:30 in the evening, it's possible to do your bike and helmet check-in. And also a uniform and shoe check will be completed by the federations, and that's in the transition area. You also drop off your gear bags. Your red and your blue gear bags need to stay overnight with us. There is no package pickup and bike check-in on race day for long distance athletes, so that needs to be completed on the Friday. For the middle distance, the same steps apply with a little bit of different time frames. So on Friday from 1:30 in the afternoon until 8, you do your registration. So also here, make sure you have your ID, and if you have a national federation license, that you show that to our staff. And at 1:30 until 8:30 again, also the bike and helmet check-in. Also partially a uniform and shoe check, less of course than for those athletes racing in the long distance and especially for the European Championship. Also here, drop off your bike bags already, your bike and your run bag, your red and the blue one, in the transition area. For the middle distance athletes only, there is a limited possibility to also do a registration and bike check-in on race day. But as said, it's limited, and we advise everyone to do this already on Friday for your own calmness and stress-free preparation of the event. It's Saturday between 6:30 and 8:30, and then the bike check-in is possible between 6 and 9:15 a.m. for those athletes. Then on race day, the schedule for the Saturday, for the long distance. The transition area opens for long distance athletes between 6 and 7. You can make all final preparations, you can still access your race bags, make the final changes, go to your bike, check the tires and everything. Also here, a final check on your uniforms, especially for those athletes again racing in the European Championship, and the body decals will be checked. Then at 7:30 we start with the first age group wave. That's the European Championship, the men athletes 18 to 44 years old at the Esplanade Beach. And 5 minutes later, second wave, age group men 45 plus. Then the third wave starts at 7:40. Those are all the women racing in the European Championship. And at 7:50, there's a big wave with all the athletes racing in the open race, the Challenge Almere-Amsterdam race, who are not competing in the European Championship. 7:52, then we start with everyone in the relays, the TriTogethers and the Aquabike athletes. Do note that the transition area is approximately 800 meters from the swim start, so please leave the transition area in time. Make sure your preparations are done and move to the swim start early in time. There is no tap water available in the transition area, so if you want to prepare bottles for your bike, do that at home or at your accommodation, because there's not a possibility to do that in the transition area. For the middle distance athletes, transition area for you on Saturday is open between 6 in the morning and 9:15. Again, you can do the final preparations. Also, you can access the race packs and check the tires and access your bike. Then start for the middle distance. It's start at 9:45 with the para athletes on the middle distance, and at 9:50 we start with all the other athletes, and those are seated in the expected swim times. So that's the athletes who are the age group men, age group women, the relay teams on the TriTogether, and the Aquabike, all on a rolling start procedure. Also here, note that the transition area is 800 meters from the start, and there's no tap water. On Sunday then, final time schedules, we have the award ceremonies. At 11 in the morning we start with award ceremony for the long distance, and latest or as soon as possible after the long distance has finished, but at 12 we start with the middle distance. So when you go to registration, please make sure you have the following items in your possession. It should have the swim cap for your color of your wave, the race stickers for your helmet, your bike and the bags, a category sticker, and a wristband that has an accreditation for you as an athlete to show that you're an athlete and are allowed to be on the courses. The body decals, the tattoos for your left arm and left leg, the bib number, which is mandatory to be worn on the bike and on the run course, the gear bags, the green bag for your after race or streetwear, your swim to bike bag, which is red, and the bike to run bag, which is blue. Some explanation on the bags. The first bag, the red bag, will contain everything that you need for your transition from the swim to the bike. It has your helmet, your glasses, your socks, your bike shoes if you will not attach them to the bike, and some food or liquids that you want to carry, which cannot be attached to your bike. Remember to add your race number to the bag, so we can find it afterwards in case it's left in the transition area. You need to hand in this bag on Friday during the check-in process with your helmet. That has to stay overnight in the transition area. For the long distance athletes, there's also possibility for a personal needs bag on the bike. Those are the white bags. They're optional, they are not given to everyone, so you need to request for that at the registration desk, and it's only for the long distance athletes. You can leave them just before the start at the green bag drop-off, so that it can be placed in the right place in the course. We will move your bag to the personal needs area on the bike course. Again, here make sure you put your race number on the bag, and you can put anything you like in there. Food, liquids, spare parts, etc. Anything you want. This bag will not be returned to you after the event. The blue bag will contain everything you need from your transition from the bike to the run. It can have your glasses, the running shoes, your socks, food, anything you would like to have in there. Again, make sure your number is on there, and it has to be left in the check-in process on Friday, but you can still access it, of course, on the Saturday to make your final changes. Also for the run and also for the long distance athletes, there's a possibility for a personal needs bag. This is an orange bag. Request this as well as at registration. This is not handed to all athletes by default. For long distance athletes only, will be left at Saturday morning at the green bag drop-off tent, and we will move it to the run personal needs area. Same here as for the bike and personal needs, items will not be returned, and remember to put your race bag on, a number on the bag. The final bag to explain is the green after race bag. This bag contains everything that you need after your race. It is the dry clothes, it could be your phone or money that you want to have close with you after you finish. Fresh shoes, whatever you want. Please make sure it's your own responsibility to put in there and keep it safe. Also here, put your race number on the bag so we know to whom it belongs, and you can hand in this green bag at the green bag drop-off just before the swim start. After the race, these bags will be transported to the athlete's care, so after race, and you can pick up your bag there in the theater. An explanation on the venue. The main venue is the Esplanade in Almere-Stad, the city of Almere. The area consists of a couple of important parts. The first part is the theater. The big theater is in the Weerwater on the side of the Esplanade. This is where your registration and also your after race will be, and also the carbo loading party on Friday will take place. The finish area is just in front of the theater, where there are 2 finish arches, and more on that in a bit, and the stadium which you will pass on the run course. In front of the finish area is the expo, where we have more than 30 vendors selling you products and showing you the latest innovations on triathlon equipment. The swim course is just on the Esplanade beach, so on the beach that is connected to the Esplanade is where your swim start will be, and on the east side of the Weerwater is where your transition area is. So you can see here on the map the distance between the transition area and the venue, so be aware of that. The check-in procedures on Friday. Please make sure that only registered athletes may enter the transition area. That means you need to have the accreditation bracelet and your bib number. Enter through the dedicated gates for you to enter into the transition area. For the bike check, make sure you have legal bars, your frame is correct, your wheels and your bike numbers are attached. Also, make sure your helmet can be checked, the strap is snug, there's no cracks and the numbers are attached to the helmet. And due to the possibly heavy wind in Almere, we always say put the helmet in the red bag so it's safe and it cannot fall to the ground. Also, especially for the athletes in the European Championship, there will be a running shoes check according to the World Athletics rules, so bring your running shoes to the check-in too. Any bike, shoes, glasses and other equipment that can be fixed to the bike may be placed on your bike. No loose equipment on or next to your bike. To add any equipment to your bike, which is not by default allowed, you must obtain approval from the head referee at the transition area check-in. So make sure you find him, make sure he writes down what is approved. If you want to attach a video camera or have other equipment that you want to attach to your bike, which is outside of the normal rules, make sure that is checked there. In the transition tent, there's a dedicated space for you, numbered and named for all the athletes, with 2 layers. The top layer is the blue bag and the bottom layer is the red bag. Make sure you do that. In case you do not comply with any of the rules, there will be a time penalty of 60 seconds in transition area 1, so make sure you do this. Then on race day, the check-in procedures. So as said, the transition area is open from 6 to 7 for the long distance athletes and from 6 to 9:15 for the middle distance athletes. They're here for and especially for the European Championship athletes, there's a uniform check to make sure that your name, your country, your logos and the World Triathlon logo are all on the uniform for the European Championship. Also, all the uniforms, also the ones you will wear at the award ceremony, need to be checked here. Also, the body decals will be checked if they are on your left arm and left leg. And we ask you to make sure you have checked in all your gear bags. The blue and the red bag should be hung in the transition area tent. There are bike pumps available in the transition area on race morning, so you can still access them and pump your tires. And again, attention, there's no drinking water in the transition area, so make sure your bottles are filled with when you go to the transition area. In case you want to leave eyeglasses with us, you can leave them at the swim exit. There's a possibility to leave them with your race number, or you can also leave them just before the start and we will transport them to the swim exit. There are toilets available in the transition area in case that's needed. Once more, as a reminder, the distance between the transition area and the race start is 800 meters, so make sure you leave the transition area in time, otherwise you have a late start. Pre-start procedures, the different age groups once more. These are also with the swim cap colors. So the European Championship men 18 to 44, blue swim cap starts 7:30, so be ready at 7:20 in the swim start area. Well, you can see the overview here, 45 plus, start is 7:35, white caps start at pre-start 7:25. The women start 7:40, so be ready 7:30, the yellow caps. The open race long distance is start at 7:50, so be ready 7:40 in the start corrals with the different colors, the red, the pink and the orange ones. The TriTogether and the Aquabikes, so the relays and the Aquabike athletes, 7:52 is the starting time, the green and the purple caps. Pre-start procedures. To access the start, go to the start corrals, which are on the Esplanade Beach. You pass the green bag drop-off tent, so make sure you hand in your green bag there. In case of a wave start, so that's for all the long distance athletes. Athletes are requested to be in position in the water. The start can be given any time after the head referee announces "on your mark," and it will be signaled with an air horn blast. Then the race starts. After the race starts officially, the athletes must move forward motion to get the race started. If you're not moving forward, you can receive a time penalty in transition area 1. In case of a false start with many athletes, several horn blasts will be sounded, bodyboards will move in front of you and the boats will block your way, and everyone goes back to the start and we give it another try. If there's a valid start with only a few early starters, then the false starters will receive a 60-second penalty in transition area 1, and during the time penalty the athlete may not touch his or her equipment. The rolling start procedure, which is for the middle distance athletes, access also through the starting areas on the Esplanade. You decide in which corral you start. There will be several boxes depending on expected swim times, so make sure you seat correctly in the right boxes. Before entering the water, a timing mat is passed and then your time starts. So the different starting times for the different rolling waves are expected to be this. So 9:50 we'll start with all the athletes with expected swim time under 30 minutes. At 9:57 we start with all the athletes who expect to swim in 30 to 34 minutes. 10:05 we start with all the athletes expecting to swim 35 to 40 minutes, and all the athletes that expect to swim longer than 40 minutes, they approximately start 13 past 10. Then on the courses, the swim courses. For the long distance, 2 laps of 1.9k, making a total distance of 3.8k in the swim. 2 bike laps of 86 kilometers plus an 8 kilometers approach, how to make in total, make it exactly 180k. The run are 4 laps of 10.1k plus a 1.8k approach, making the full marathon 42.195 kilometers. For the middle distance athletes, the course is 1 lap of 1.9k, the bike is 1 lap of 86k plus that same 8 kilometers approach, making 94k on the bike. The run is then 2 laps of 10.1k plus a 900 meters approach, which makes a half marathon, 21.1k run. Cutoffs for the long distance, you can see here it's 2 hours and 15 minutes from your official start time. So make sure you calculate that and are aware of that. For the bike, the deadline for the first lap cutoff, so you have to have completed your bike first lap for the long distance at 5 minutes past 2. And for the second lap, the cutoff is 10 minutes to 6. So make sure you have finished your bike by then. The run cutoffs for you are starting the final lap, so your fourth lap needs to be started 5 minutes past 10. And you need to reach the finish 20 minutes past 11. So 11:20 is when you need to have finished. For the middle distance athletes, the cutoff times are 1 hour and 15 minutes from your last start. Approximately 11:35 is the expected cutoff time. For the bike, your first lap or your only lap has to be finished before 4 p.m. So you have to be in at 1600 hours in the transition area and start your run. Your run deadline, your finish deadline is at 7 p.m. in the evening. The swim course. Start again the starting areas through the Esplanade. That's the starting place. Make sure you're in your corral 10 minutes before the start, and before your start everyone will pass a MyLabs timing mat to ensure the presence. Current expected water and air temperature for the morning are water temperature is expected between 21 and 22 degrees Celsius, and the air is expected somewhere between 12 and 14 degrees Celsius. At this moment, that means that the wetsuit is expected to be allowed, but we have to say the final decision on this will be taken 1 hour before the start based on the exact conditions at that time. The decision will be communicated through the speakers at that moment. The swim course, the lap in the weerwater, all marked clearly with big buoys. Every large buoy is a turning buoy. It's always on your left hand side, so always keep the big buoys on your left hand side. The last buoys are the green buoys, which you see in the bottom right corner. You pass between the two green buoys to exit the course towards the transition area. Some swimming conduct, some rules on the swim. According to the competition rules, athletes must sportingly maintain their own space in the water. So don't make inappropriate contact between each other. Don't hit each other. If it's not on purpose, it's okay as long as it's just a one-time occurrence. But if it's happening too often, then there will be penalties, especially if there's harm involved in that situation. There will be additional boats and technical officials deployed on the swim course. They will monitor the athlete behavior, for instance also course cutting, so make sure you keep always on the correct side of the buoys. Any infringements may be recorded and appropriate action will be taken depending on the rules. Please respect your fellow competitors and keep the race fair is actually just the summary of those rules. So from the swim exit to the transition area, and the moment you exit the swim, you go into the side of the lake, from the lake, go into the transition tent, go to your place in the transition tent, change into your bike clothes, go to your place in the transition area with the bike in hand, go to the mount line and start your race. The flow is all going straight. There will be signs, volunteers pointing you in the right direction. Make sure you check the flow before the race, of course. Middle distance athletes are here situated on the top of the transition area in the picture, and the age group athletes on the long distance are on the bottom side of the picture. The mount line is all the way to the bottom, marked in green in this slide. So as we said, the transition area is traditional bike racks. They are all numbered. They have your name and your flag, so you cannot miss it. Again, the flow, once finished the swim, go to the bags area, take your red bag from the rack, take out your bike gear, put in all the wet suits and all the wet materials from the swim, wetsuit, goggles, swim caps, and leave them back in the marked area on the bottom hook of the tent and on your place. There will be tents available per gender, so it splits per gender. Make sure no equipment is left behind. Anything not in the bag may result in a penalty. Then, of course, exit the area, go to your bike, make sure your helmet is fixed before you move, before you touch your bike, and then with the bike in hand, run to the mount line. Only start biking after you've passed the mount line. The bike course for the long distance athletes, it's 2 laps again in a clockwise direction with the 8K approach, so 180K, and for the middle distance, as said, 1 lap also clockwise with an approach of the same 8K, which makes it 94K for you. The course is mostly flat. There are a few small hills, but I think most foreign athletes will not call these hills. In a few parts in the beginning it is technical, so be aware of that. The course is not entirely free from traffic, especially in the farmers part, which is the second third of the course. It is allowed for some of those cars to reach their houses, as otherwise they would be blocked all day. It is a limited circumstances, but be aware of that. On the entire bike course, drafting is not allowed. You have to bike your own pace in your own race. Your bike number needs to be worn on the bib. It needs to be visible on the back. Always stay on the right side of the road and pass on the left side. There is a timing mat at each lap and at the start of the end of the bike course at the mount and dismount line to make sure you completed the correct number of laps. Some points of attention. Although we'll make sure everything is as safe as possible, there are some things on the course, as it's just an open course, normal roads, that we cannot fix. So we want you to be aware of those situations. Already early at the beginning, at kilometer 6 or N90 for those on the long distance, in the paved harbor area, it's quite bumpy. So make sure your drink bottles are tight on the bike and not dropping out of that part. At kilometers 10 and at kilometers 100, you pass under a railroad, and there is a narrow passage just before widening up. So also here, make sure you are aware of that and on your handlebars for that area. At kilometers 15 and 105 for the second lap on the bike course on the Pampas Havenweg, there is a road surface which is quite rough with some potholes. We mark them and there's a lot of construction going on to fix them at this moment, but make sure on that area, stay vigilant on that part. At kilometer 60 and 150 for the long distance in the forest area of Zeewolde, there's a pole in the center of the road which we cannot remove safely. So we'll do everything to mark it as clearly as possible, but it will be there, so you have to make sure that you're aware of that and keep passing it in a safe way. Then at the final part, the final stretches of dike, if you're heading back to Almere-Haven, just before the split to the transition area, there's a last stretch of dike. There are some potholes on the right side of the road. Also here we try to fill them as much as we can. We mark them as much as we can, but there could be some that we missed, so be vigilant there. Maybe drive a little bit more to the left, not entirely to the left, a little bit away from the right side. So there's enough space for athletes to pass you on the left side there and keep it safe. On the bike course, the coach area and the personal needs are situated at aid station 1 in Almere-Haven. Just in a bit I'll show you the map where you can see where they are. Only on this location accredited coaches can supply athletes with their own food and beverages, or you can stop and pick up your personal needs bag from the transition area. There are 2 penalty boxes on the bike course marked with the yellow dot. That's at 50k near the aid station 3 and then at about 90k, just before the end of the lap. It is important that if you receive a blue card or a yellow card while cycling, you must stop at the next penalty box. The dismount line is indicated in red on the map, is at the end of the bike course. This is the map of the entire bike course, and as you can see indicated on the bike course map, you see the yellow button, the yellow circle, which is the penalty boxes. So you see that at the bottom, that's the end of the lap, or you can see it at aid station 3 indicated there. The aid stations are indicated with the numbers and the water bottles on the map, and the aid station 1 has an orange and a blue box next to it. That's the personal needs and also the coach station. So that's for your planning to be aware of. As said, the moment you finish into the transition area, that's where the dismount line is, and you need to be off your bike before that line and walk with your bike in hand into the transition area. Aid stations, there are 4 of them on each lap. At each station you'll find portable toilets, so you can stop and take a toilet break if needed. They are located at kilometers 5, 25, 46, 70. The aid stations for the second lap are at 95k, 115k, 136k and 160k on the bike course. You're only allowed to discard bottles and any litter within the littering zones just before and after the aid station. They are marked with signs, so make sure you do that, otherwise it might result in a penalty. The aid station food is served in this order. So we start with food, half bananas cut in half, power bar energized bars, then energy gels, sports drink, power bar isoactive lemon in 750 milliliter bottles and water in 750 milliliter bottles. Make sure that if you want to receive some nutrition from our volunteers, that you also break a little bit in order to get the food you want. If you go 70 k's an hour, it's hard to grab any nutrition that we want to serve you. As said, in the littering zone, make sure you only throw away litter in the littering zones. If you do that outside, it might result into a disqualification. So keep it with you and throw it only away at the aid station. Again, the order of food, the volunteers will be wearing vests, and you can also shout for something if you want something specific. Shout food, gel, ISO or water, and they know what to do. The drafting distance for this race is 12 meters measured from the front wheel of the first athlete to the front wheel of the second athlete, which means it should be possible for 5 bikes to be between you and the athlete in front of you. The drafting rules is the athlete may enter a bike draft zone in the following circumstances. If the athlete enters the draft zone and progresses it within the allotted time of the process of overtaking. So it needs to be a quick motion overtaking the athlete in front. And for safety reasons, 100 meters before and after an aid station or transition area, or at an acute turn. That's the only reason when it is allowed. So the drafting rules on overtaking. An athlete is passed when another athlete's front wheel is in front of theirs. An overtaken athlete must make a rearward motion and so must drop out of the drafting zone by giving the athlete that passed him some space. Repassing by an overtaken athlete prior to dropping out of the draft zone will result in a drafting violation. Any overtaken athletes who remain within the draft zone of the passing athlete for more than the allotted time will be given a drafting penalty, so make sure you drop back quickly after you've been passed. Blocking rules, it's also not allowed to block any other athletes that attempt to overtake you, so keep to the right side of the course at all times and do not create a blocking incident. Blocking is where an athlete who is behind cannot pass due to the leading athlete being poorly placed on the course. Athletes seen blocking by a technical official will incur a time penalty of a few seconds at the next penalty box. During the bike segment, technical officials can show you two different kinds of cards, a blue and a yellow. In case you receive a blue card, that's for a drafting infringement. That means you need to stop for 5 minutes at the next penalty box. For any other infringements, which are blocking, littering, etc., you receive a yellow card, which means you have to stop at the next penalty box for 1 minute. For penalties on the bike course, stop in the next penalty box and stay there for 5 minutes for drafting penalties, the blue card, or 1 minute for other infringements on the bike course, the yellow card. And the athlete's numbers will not be posted in the bike penalty box, so it's your own responsibility to make that. But if you fail to stop in the penalty box, failing of that will result into a disqualification. The penalties are accumulated, so a third drafting penalty will lead to a disqualification. For first and second offenses, it means 2 times 5 minutes in the penalty box, and the third offense, disqualification. It is, in serious cases, possible to receive a red card immediately, and then you will be disqualified out of the race without question. You will enter the penalty box, dismount the bike, and inform the technical official of your race number and the number of penalties you need to serve and the color of cards received. The time penalty starts when the athlete complies with all the above and ends when the technical official says go. And then you may continue the competition. If the athlete leaves the area, the technical official will ask the athlete to return and the time will be paused. Once the athlete complies, the count will continue. While you're in the bike penalty box, athletes can only consume food and water that is on your bike or on your person, so can't accept any outside food or assistance. Athletes are not allowed to use the restroom while serving a penalty in the bike penalty box. The time of the penalty will then be paused if you use the restroom during your penalty break. Making also any adjustments to your bike or any equipment of doing any bike maintenance while serving a penalty in the bike penalty box is also not allowed. One more sheet to remember this: a yellow card means 1 minute penalty stop in the next penalty box. The blue cards, 5 minute penalty stop at the next penalty box. And a red card immediately or 3 times a blue card means a disqualification. At some points of the course there might be additional costs for caution. A volunteer, a traffic marshal or a technical official will mark that by waving a flag and blowing a whistle. You will have 3 sharp whistles to indicate a situation, so be aware of that. For the bike personal needs station, only for the long distance athletes, you may place any nutrition, spare parts, anything you want in the white bag, leave it at the green bag drop-off, and we will transport this to aid station 1 where it's available for you. It is close to aid station 1, this will not be handed to you, so you need to stop, find your bag, take out what you want, close the bag and put the bag back in the rack, and then you can continue your bike course. Make sure that when you move back onto the bike course that you're not hitting other athletes. These items will not be returned after the race. There is no bike service available during the race on the course. So in case of technical issues, you need to fix it yourself. Outside assistance is not allowed. Be prepared for that. There are broom cars, technical cars that can pick you up in case you need to drop out of the race for technical reasons, and we can bring you back to the esplanade together with your bike. At the end of the bike course, you exit the bike course and you stop at the dismount line. Before the dismount line, you dismount from your bike, and with the bike in hand, you walk in the transition area. The dismount line, on the right side of the dismount line, is also where the finish of the Aquabike is. So Aquabike athletes, make sure you're on the right side of that path to finish on the Aquabike. There's after race care for you there. You can restore a bit and then walk to the finish area to have your official finish picture taken. The transition area then, walk with the bike in hand to your place in the transition area, rack your bike, and with your helmet on you walk onto the transition tent where you change into your run gear. From the tent you walk out to the run course. Again here, same place as the transition area 1, so find your own place in the transition area. It's numbered, it has your name and it has your country flag on that place. Once more, once you finish the bike, dismount before the dismount line, rack your bike in the assigned place, run to the transition tent, find your bag, take the blue bag and take out all your run gear, leave inside the bag all the bike gear that you don't need anymore on the run, so your helmet, glasses, everything that you want to get rid of, and leave the bag in the marked area in the changing tent on your specific place on the top hook of the rack. There are splits between genders, so you won't mix kind of in that way, so if you want to change it, that's possible. And make sure that no equipment is left behind on the floor, that everything is back into your bag. The run course for the long distance starts with a 1.8k approach plus 4 laps of 10.1k in a counterclockwise direction, and the total distance is the full marathon. The middle distance, it's an approach of 900 meters plus 2 laps of 10.1k in a counterclockwise direction, a total distance of 21.1. This means that for the athletes on the long distance, there's an additional loop at the start of the run course, which is marked. You will just follow the path and you will be guided in the right direction. For the middle distance athletes, they merge earlier into the run course. Bike numbers are mandatory to be worn on the front during the run course, and there are 6 aid stations on the run course every 1.6 kilometers approximately. 5 are fully staffed and fully equipped with all sorts of nutrition, and the 6th on the Esplanade, where also the personal needs station is, will only have water. Locations will be shown on the map in a bit. Also here, same as applies as on the bike course, you are only allowed to discard bottles and litter within the littering zones as indicated in the signs. So start trash zone and end trash zone is the only places between which you are allowed to throw away litter. The nutrition is served in the following order. The first stop will be the gels. Then there is food, fixed food, currant buns, bananas, oranges, power bar, energized bars. Then ISO drink will be served, Power Bar ISO Active Lemon in a paper cup, according to the official mixture rules that Power Bar serves. Then cola, not diluted cola, but real cola in a paper cup. Then water, tap water is the final station to rinse off. Also here, volunteers will be wearing vests, so it's clearly visible what you want. Or also here, you can say something specific if you want something for your part of the run. And again, the littering zones, only in the littering zones you're allowed to throw away. If you do not do that, you risk a disqualification. The map. So as said, a counterclockwise direction, start from the transition area, and in the highlight on the right you can see the details of the first extra loop that the long distance athletes need to do. So the long distance athletes take another loop around the first area to start their run course, an additional 900 meters to make sure they run the correct distance for the marathon. Middle distance athletes immediately go to the run course. The aid stations are marked on the map, and also good to know is the coach area and the penalty box, which are on the top just before you hit the Esplanade at the back of the hospital for those on the Almere-Amsterdam. That's where the coach post is for the long distance athletes, and also the penalty box is there. So make sure you're aware of that in case you still need to serve a penalty, that's there, and also the coach station. Some points of attention on the run course. Halfway out on the run course, you go over this bridge, the Weerwater bridge, which is there. You walk here on the left side of the road. So walk on the left side, and after the turning point, you also walk back on the left side. The moment you're back at the end of the bridge, there's a left turn down, some small stairs, or there's a possibility to pass it on the right side, which is unpaved, but a little bit smoother. We marked it with tape, but just to be aware of that descent. Again, some highlight on penalties. Any start infringements will be served in transition area 1. Any bike infringements you need to serve in the next bike penalty box. All other infringements like swim, T1, T2 and on the run will be served on the spot, at stop and go. Or at the penalty box, which is indicated on the run course. After you completed your run course, the most important part, of course, is to finish in the right arch. We will set up 2 arches on the finish area. One is for all long distance athletes. So if you do European Championship, Open Series, if you do the TriTogether, you finish there. Except the Aquabike athletes, because the long distance Aquabike athletes and all middle distance athletes will finish in the red arch. So the red carpet, actually, that's the biggest indication for you. So there's a blue carpet for all the long distance athletes except Aquabike, and the red carpet is for all middle distance athletes plus the long distance Aquabike. There will be someone marking you in the right direction. Follow these orders, but also do check out already the finish area setup before you start your race to be aware of how this works. Post-race, there will be a photo finish, so there will be photos taken from you for marathon photos and will be available for you after the race. After you finish, we ask you to keep moving through the mix zone and the recovery area. We will move you along a little bit. Of course, there's some time to celebrate with your loved ones just after the finish. There is some anti-doping control in place, especially for the European Championship. Photo ID is needed for every athlete to be ready for doping control, so make sure you have that close at hand or someone can hand it to you quickly in case you're needed for doping control. For the award ceremony on the Sunday, we ask you to dress up with your race uniform or the country clothes on Sunday, especially for those in the European Championship, of course. In the medical area, only our own team is allowed, our own medical team is allowed to enter the medical area, or the National Federation accredited doctor is allowed in the medical area, but only when an athlete of their country is in the area, so be aware of that. There's an electronic timing system we used. Make sure you secure the timing chip on your left ankle. In case you lose your timing chip, it will affect your results, and you could receive a fee for not handing in the chip. Any athletes retired or disqualified are asked to return the timing chip to technical officials or to the information desk in the area. In case you regularly finish the race, you need to return your timing chip at the bike pickup, at the bike checkout. We have the policy, no chip, no bike. So if you don't leave your chip with us, then we keep your bike. For any spectators, friends and followers following you online, live timing will also be published on our website www.challenge-family.live. So make sure you spread that across everyone who wants to follow you. On the bike checkout, a little bit of scheduling here. For the long distance, you can pick up your bike and run gear bags, the red and the blue ones, and your bike from 5:45. So 5:45, that's when the bike course closes. And the middle distance, you can pick up your bags and your bike at 4 p.m. So that's when the bike course of the middle distance athlete closes. You need to have your wristband and your timing chip available with you for bike and bag pickup, and also your bib number is also needed. The medal ceremony at the end of the race, we celebrate with a big award ceremony that will take place on the Sunday at 11 in the finish stadium for the long distance and at 12 for the middle distance. So be on time if you are in the top prizes and be awarded for your efforts. This is also the moment where the qualification for the Challenge Family, the championship, will take place. An iconic event taking place in Samorin, Slovakia on May 18, 2025, where you will compete against other qualified athletes at Challenge Family events. The top 6 athletes for this will be qualified and called to the stage, and your invitations will be sent after the event by email. There are special prizes for fastest bike splits and also for the most effort, most experience points logged in Mover. So make sure you're aware of that, and if you're in the prizes, you will be called to the stage to receive your awards. Some World Triathlon rules, and that's again specifically for those racing the European Championship. You must wear your uniform during the entire competition and the award ceremony. Long sleeves and long pants are allowed for the award ceremony, so make sure you wear the correct clothes for that. It's not allowed to have kids on the podium. If you cannot attend the medal ceremony, then please be aware that either your team manager or your teammates that are available in the area can pick up your awards on your behalf, but only at the end of the award ceremony. Please do not disturb the award ceremony while it's taking place, but we finish those all after the award ceremony. In some cases, we can also send it to you by post, but we prefer to have it picked up on the event site immediately. Final rules on ambush marketing rules. Please observe the ambush marketing. And ambush marketing is not allowed. It's defined as deliberately using the opportunity of live television and media photographers to acquire additional exposure for your sponsored product, apparel or brand. The consequence of this behavior is that the athlete will immediately forfeit all the prize money for that event and your prizes. So you will be disqualified from the event. To finish off on water quality, all tests recently which have been taking place on the 3 fixed locations A, B and C are looking good. For the past few weeks there are no anomalies that are above the water quality rules that are in place from World Triathlon. Position D will be measured quite before the event, so we'll have last minute information right on the course. We expect no abnormalities with the water quality. Also, the weather is looking to be a nice day, although it could be a little bit of rainy in the mornings. But yeah, when I record this, it's still a bit far away from the race, so it could change any day. Keep monitoring the weather predictions and we keep you posted. That said, with this briefing, I hope I gave you all the information you need for your race. If you have any questions still remaining, go to either the registration desk or our information desk in the theater, and we will happily answer any questions you might still have on this. We want to wish you a great race, and we see you at the finish line.